Okay, we're gonna try this again. I was having some technical issues, but I am back, you guys. And today in Condizioni, I will be talking about the Hall of Mirrors and Paths to Clarity. My name is Taisha Simpson, and I am the founder of Holy Space. We are a nonprofit geared towards creating events, workshops, and retreats for other coaches, therapists, spiritual leaders, and those of service so that they can fortify their being in Isumatak, which is the keeper of sacred space where wisdom is revealed. And so today I'm going to present to you guys the Hall of Mirrors. And across all dimensional realities, we have heard of mirrors in different ways. In the Mayan oracle, it's called the Etznab, and the Etznab is a hall of mirrors in up-level communication, which is a system that I use from Hey Zainab, a system that I use from Progressive Love Academy. We learn how to process with the three-way mirror, which shows us three mirrors. But I have expanded on something called the Hall of Mirrors, which I'm going to share with you guys today. And it's going to show us every which way but loose and how we're creating our reality in every which way. Now, the Hall of Mirrors is so dear to my heart because a lot of times when we're shared this perception of, oh, you attracted this thing or this thing is you, we are like confused. We're like, it's no possible way. I'm not a lie. I'm not a cheat. I'm not these things that this other person is showing me, or this person is so mean. How can that be me? And we're wondering what. Well, that's only one way to look at the mirror. That's called a parallel mirror or proclivity. And that is what we're doing in the moment. So I'm going to go over a wide variety of other mirrors and how we're creating that may be able to bring you some clarity, as well as some tips and some remedies in order to work with these mirrors in your everyday life, bringing some practicality into the spirituality that we are all a part of right now in this moment. And so I'm very excited. Um, I actually want to start with a story because we are always creating our mirrors. And I also want to say this really deeply is that when you're working with others, it's not the most compassionate thing to try to start a person inside of the Hall of Mirrors. The Hall of Mirrors is an initiatory space that truly, truly, truly takes a lot of other initiations to get into. It takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of worship, self worship. Okay, I don't say work. I say I've done the worship on myself. There's no work. I've done the worship on myself, and so this takes a lot of worship. It takes a lot of ego and higher self worship in order to really be able to enter the Hall of Mirrors. So I always tell people, don't enter unless you've done the before things. Like unless you've vented yourself all the way down, unless you've been soothed, unless you've done all the things, it's hard to enter the Hall of Mirrors because everything is gonna look like it's happening from outside of you until your ego part or your animal is validated, which is a whole other initiation, which I'll talk about in another thing. But I wanted to present y'all with the Hall of Mirrors today. So especially as people that are of service, it's very, very important to know how to, when you're walking in your everyday walk, how to fortify your own steps in the Hall of Mirrors. So I actually came up with a workbook, but it's all good. So one of the biggest misconceptions that people have about life's challenges is that they're somehow like random or meaningless, or that there are somehow coincidences in the world. And society tells us, oh, it's just happening that way. Oh, it's just happening that way. Now, although I embody surrender and acceptance, how do we really get to a place of acceptance or surrender when things are always happening in our outside world? They tell us, oh, just remove the negative thoughts or just say that's a lie in your head. But if something is coming up in you, it's coming up for a reason. And when we don't allow those feelings and those thoughts and those different things to come to the surface, they end up festering in our bodies and manifesting in our bodies, and then we have dis-ease and we have all these things that we have to deal with and we don't know why. So I'm not with the spiritual bypass, and that's why I love Hall of Mirrors, because No, what is this going to show me? And that's one of the main questions that the Hall of Mirrors asks. What is this going to show me? Because suppression, even in my experience, I've had cysts before, all these things, and those things are from repressed, suppressed anger. And really, when we look at a lot of the things going on in society, it can come from, and the root things are suppression, guilt, shame, and all of them are fear, right? Judgment. So we here to debunk that. We don't got to suppress. We need to really get these things out so that they can really be transformed and transmuted. So another myth is that the solutions to any of our problems is external. We think that somehow if we change something outside of us, that everything is just going to automatically change. But have you ever been feeling like you was in a cycle, or you left one relationship, and even though the next relationship started off great honeymoon stage, somewhere down the line the same thing is happening? Is because it's not external. However, the change starts from within. So one of the core tenets of Holy Space and of Progressive Love Academy, because our tenets are embodied from them, I give a lot of honor and reverence to any systems that I use all the time, is no cop outs, no dropouts. And that says that I can't run from myself. So no matter how many people you try to run from, or no matter how many circumstances you think can make a difference, a lot of the deep things have to start in here. They have to start in here. So the Hall of Mirrors teaches us that the external world is only a reflection of our inner state. And these things, though, because this needs to be emphasized, these things are not our fault, right? But they are our creation. And you'll understand why as we dive in. So from my experience, I've seen that traditional self help methods work to a certain extent. Talk therapy, I feel like, works to a certain extent, but then I feel like they tell us, oh, you need to process that, or um but oh, you need to get over that, or you need to forgive that, but they don't really tell you how. So when it comes to the Hall of Mirrors, we actually show you how. And so I'm actually going to share something that I wrote, because it really kind of explains the depth of the Hall of Mirrors before we dive in. And it's a poem called Playtime. I look at the Hall of Mirrors, I look at all of life really as a theater, as a stage. And so when we dive into a lot of the processes, hey Alma, when we dive into a lot of processes that I'm going to share, it's always going to be, how can we provide theater? How can we provide play for the people that we love? Because anytime we're in the Hall of Mirrors with somebody, we're both just inner children. And so how can we provide theater for that? And so this poem is called Playtime, and it really it captures the essence of everything that I'm going to share just amongst the group. So, Playtime. You see me, I make sure that my playtime is play. You see me, and you'll know that I did it my way. The strings that have been attached to the backs of the masses extort us to distort us, making the masses passive. And by passive, I don't mean that they won't cause a riot, but riots caused by our GMO diets, our homogenous upbringings in the boxes they place us, so that play would only be an option, and if we don't work, it would displace us. See, what I actually mean is the riot from within, where we are passive to ourselves and maintain working for the man, where we resist the urge to grow and think we're working toward a plan. Go to school, get good grades, get a good job, yet you still ain't free. Trading time for money, body for money, trading soul for cheap. You see me, I make sure that my playtime is play, rest being a revolution. I relax and I enjoy the day. The things that procure me, I pour myself into. Yet, it's really pouring into me, for I am the vessel. You see, I'm not the only human with a different way of being. If you don't go into spaces triggered, you won't know how obscure your vision is you're seeing. The revolution that I speak of is the assignment from above. This is one's true essence. The core of us is love. We cannot bridge realities by being just the same. In order to shift paradigms, we must be the ones to change. Remember when you see me, embodied is my presence, showing others unlimited paths simply by walking in my essence. What do I see when I see another? I see God inside. How does that love extend to a brother? I see God inside. And to the stranger on the corner who shouted, "Yeah, fuck me," I see you too, God. I see you clearly as can be. The morning was fucking stress, yes. You trying to feed the fam? I hope you receive a miracle. I see you and there I am. You see the revolution that I speak of? I speak because I tried the path of seeing God in everything. I see God in what I lack. I see God in every being. I see God in myself. I see that this particular vision of seeing is the best thing for my health. You see, this is the revolution that values collaboration over competition, the revolution of knowing, not believing. This is the revolution of love. This is your season. This is the revolution of resting and receiving. This is the revolution of whispers from your soul tribe and joy for no reason. I'm telling you, when you see me, the path I chose to go was the path that came to walk me home and find the way back to my soul. Embody, embody, embody. Know that I have hurt, I have experienced pain and trauma. I am human too, like you. Yet in those places, I found spaces in which my light could shine through. I saw my truth from seeing the mirror in you. I shame nothing. I embrace everything as a mirror into me. And this is why I get to play, because I choose to see. And so I'm going to present you guys with the Hall of Mirrors today. The Hall of Mirrors involves 11 core mirrors of manifestation, including the 3 core mirrors that reflect our daily aspects and really help us decode life. When entering the Hall of Mirrors, know this: you will be called into the Hall of Mirrors when it is time and you are ready. The corridor is aligned and you'll walk through it. Partner for safe space. Partner with those that you can share safe travels with as you traverse through such a dimension in which you're able to see God in everything, even in yourself. And you will never be alone on this journey. You never are. You are deeply seen, felt, and understood on this journey, dear love. A good quote from my girlfriend Rhonda. She says, "God has no hands and feet on earth without man. So know that you're divinely guided and divinely supported." So, the 3 core mirrors that's like really rampant in our lives, y'all, is parallels. This is I do the same thing on some type of level. We have possibilities, which is I shame or suppress this thing, or I don't think this thing is possible for me. Possibilities mirror. Programming mirror. This is the things that we were taught from 0 to 14, so we start to expect it from others in our lives and we manifest it to transform it, really. Those are the 3 core, and then there's the polarity mirror, which is broken down into 4 mirrors, which accompany masculine energy and feminine energies in particular ways, and I'll give examples of that when we get there. And then we have, I call them the muse mirrors because they're really really fun. Like inanimate animation is a fun mirror because it doesn't really have to involve other people. It involves your objects in your life, like your cell phone or items in your house. So we'll go over that. We'll go over Gaia's Echo, which I love that mirror because we see planetary things and we get to see mirrors in what is going on in life by paying attention to Gaia. And then we have Echoes from the Body, which is a very special mirror because the body knows the way. That's how I live by. So the questions we ask when we enter the Hall of Mirrors are, what are you trying to show me? And why did I create this? Now, there's no bias in the field. Like the field holds no bias. There's no good or bad in the field, y'all. Consciousness is neutral. The purpose of all things is to evolve and grow. Our attachment to how that may look may seem like things are good or bad, but the field is totally neutral. So a lot of people that have worked with me, they are already working through the core tenets of I create my life. There's no shame, no blame, no victims, no villains, no cop outs, no dropouts. Everything serves to further me. The purpose is growth. The remembrance is love. Okay? Because really, like, a lot of times we think we're entering into relating with others and so that we could receive all this love. And yes, you are receiving love and it's beautiful. But the real reason we face the mirrors, especially with the people we love, is to show us all the ways in which we don't love, to show us all the ways in which we are very conditional in how we love. So these are really deep initiations, those triggers, I mean, those tenets. But people that work with me, we've been through that. You know what I'm saying? So this is, again, y'all high level, so I'm sharing high level with y'all, and we're skipping past a lot of stuff. So with the parallel mirror, is I do the same thing, and it's real tricky because sometimes we love to believe that I'm not doing the same thing. Like, we love that. Like, my daughter is super messy in her room, and I'm like, oh, my room isn't messy. That ain't me. But my office is messy. You know what I'm saying? That's a parallel mirror. A lot of us, hate liars. We hate liars, but everyone can empathize with the fear of authenticity because as a child, many, many, many of us, not a lot of us, like the vast majority of us, were not able to be authentic with our parents. We were not able to be authentic in the very first safe spaces that we belonged into. So when we get into relationships with others, yeah, we're liars because there's a huge fear of authenticity because if I show you who I truly am, there's going to be shame and blame, and then the relationship's going to be over and it's going to be a fight. And so everybody's coming in with these masks on. But it doesn't work. So another parallel trigger that I like to point out, because people, especially in relationships, they'll be like, oh, well, this person, they don't text immediately or they don't call immediately. And even though you may call and text that person immediately, I bet you if you were to ask yourself, are there people in your life that you do not immediately respond to? You're going to say yes. We put a lot of weight because it's our partner, but it's just truth. We're capable of it. That's what a parallel mirror is. It's like, oh, I did the same thing. I do the same thing. This is something that I do. So here goes some more examples. Um, my partner often needs a second before communicating. He has to take like a pause. And although I like to communicate swiftly, I too have needed space. My daughter doesn't care about rules or authority. I also do not care about rules or authority. My partner and my daughter don't like being accused. I too dislike being accused. This is the parallel mirror. Like, everybody's doing it. You're doing it, the other people are doing it, but you're mad and you do the same thing. That's the parallel. My daughter forgets to do something. I forget to do shit all the time. Your partner gets a tons of attention. You also are beautiful and get tons of attention. Right? Now, we'll get to if you don't. We'll get to what kind of mirror that is. But for the parallels, y'all get it. We're doing the same thing. And so I used to be like, oh man, my partner connects so deeply with people. I connect deeply with people. That's what I do. So what are some parallel mirrors in your life? And so here's quick remedies on parallel mirrors when somebody's triggering you and you figuring out, ooh, I do the same thing. The first remedy for anything is self-love. It's always going to be self-love. Self-love is the number one mirror for anything. If we do the same thing, then give yourself some love and some grace because it's okay. Although I am impatient, like my daughter, I love myself anyway. And everyone, we know EFT, so you can throw self-love to the EFTs. Okay? The other thing is you could give compassion for yourself and the other person. You know, I understand that it may be hard for you to text back immediately all the time. That's hard for me sometimes too. Let me give some love to myself. Let me give some love to the other person. Another another remedy for a parallel mirror is, do I want to change this thing? I really ain't down with authority like that, y'all. I'm a rebel. So my daughter's a rebel. Do I want to change being a rebel? Hell no. So if I'm not willing to change it, Am I okay in giving the same acceptance to my daughter? Yeah, because I'm not willing to change this thing. So I need to have some tolerance for myself and her and some love, obviously. Now, if you do think you want to change the thing, there's something for that. So you might say, how long will it take me to change this thing? So let's say your child is messy and you're also messy, and you ask yourself, how long would it really, let's say it's you're messy with bills, how long would it really take me to be not messy with bills? Y'all, I'm in my 30s. I've been messy with bills probably my whole life. So it will honestly take some time. It will take some organization, probably take a minimum of a year. So another good remedy is you time it. You say, hey, am I willing to give my daughter a year as well? And once you ask yourself that, like, dang, like, am I willing to give my daughter also a year? You start to see it different. Your partner's not a good phone person. You know in the past you haven't been a good phone person. How long did it take you to be a good phone person? 30 years? Damn, am I willing to give that time to this person? So those are some remedies for parallel mirrors. Now there are mad remedies, but I'm just giving y'all a little snip because we going a little hour time for Connessione. So you can always ask yourself different questions around the parallel mirrors, and what ways that you could practice more self love. The parallel mirrors is just self love. I utilize a lot of subconscious reprogramming in my practices, so I come up with a lot of what I call balance embodiment. That's my program. I come up with balance embodiment prompts for reprogramming the reality. So if it's a parallel mirror, some prompts would be like, I embrace, I recognize, I love myself, I am patient with the time it takes for myself and others to change, I am tolerant, dot, dot, dot. I love that I experience, I'm grateful to my daughter for showing me that I'm also messy. Like those are different prompts, and you just want to get yourself into a state of like love and acceptance. Because let me tell y'all, shame, shame is not it, baby. When we start loving and accepting shit, that is when things can really change. So shame is not it. So the next mirror is the possibilities mirror. I love this mirror because we love to act like somebody is so bad for something that they're doing, but the whole time we shame the thing or we suppress the thing, we never do the thing. So for instance, if you see a woman all day and she's just in a bathing suit and she's just free and she's just living her life, and you're shaming her like, oh, she don't need to be wearing that bathing suit, you might be the person who never wears a bathing suit. You might be a person very uncomfortable in their body. You might be a person who is very uncomfortable with sensuality or nudity. I always say one of the biggest possibilities mirrors is men and women. We're taught this rhetoric of men being like free and having all this capacity, and and they've been kingdom building, and so women are shaming them because women haven't been taught that level of agency or freedom in the past, right? In reverse, women, oh, the women are emotional. Oh, the women are always expressing themselves. Oh, the women are graping my ear off. But the men are suppressing, or they're not expressing themselves, or they're shutting things down, which we see in statistics with men dying earlier because they don't get into group help and group sessions and group love and group support. So the possibilities mirror, it says that I shame or suppress this thing in some way in myself. And it comes up a lot as jealousy, frustration. Oh my God, I would never do that to that person. These are possibilities mirror. In the mirror of possibilities, it's like everything we run from. It's like we may want it for ourselves and we don't even realize it because the programming is so deep. Now, even though programming is its own mirror, everything comes through the programming. Everything comes through the experiences that we've had. So some examples of possibilities mirrors in real time is that my daughter loves saying no for years. That like really really triggered me, but I had grew up to be a people pleaser. I had grew up to believe that children shouldn't say no and children should just always do as they told. So it was of course triggering for me when my daughter came out showing me that children have self agency, they also have consent. Like, so that's a possibilities mirror. So we will go on shaming each other. Like, we will go on shaming each other when really we want to embrace or experience some of these things for ourselves. So sit down and ask yourself next time you're like, oh, David always does this or Shelly always does this. Is it something that you never do? Is it something that you never do? One of the biggest possibilities mirrors, like in my life, especially as human design, I have an open throat center. So if I'm around defined throats, I'm talking a lot. And for because of it, right, I manifest people that don't, and they manifest me, right? We manifest our opposite so that we can learn and grow and embody. You know what I'm saying? And so somebody will manifest me to see that they can speak up, they can talk more, like they need to like speak, and I can manifest them to know that yo, everything ain't everybody business, and I don't need to speak, and it's okay to be quiet. And so possibilities mirrors, what are some possibilities mirrors in your lives? What are some things that irritate you, but really it's because you don't ever do it? I'm gonna give you some remedies for it. So self-love, again, always the number one. I love that I'm quiet. I recognize that Ashley is not as quiet. I love that we're different. That's step one, self-love, man. Step two, hey Amaya, I love that you say no. I love how firm you are and who you are. You know what? I think I really want to learn to say no as well. Start embracing the fact that you don't do that. Start embracing the fact that you want to do the thing. One of my favorite things for possibilities mirrors is acting as if. And acting as if is basically a concept that through osmosis we become. So try the thing. Try the thing for 5 minutes, 1 hour, 1 day, 1 month. Just try the thing. And let me tell you, you may even come to the realization that you don't want the thing for yourself. But because you've tried it and because you've experienced it, you can understand, you can empathize, and now you can release shame around it. Something that I actually had to do this recently. I'm very triggered by lack of communication, and when people like leave and don't say anything when they're like shared responsibilities or things that everybody has going on together. Very triggering for me. But for like a week, I just did the same thing. I just started leaving. I just started not even caring if anybody had work or any. I didn't give a fuck. I just started leaving, and it felt really free and liberating. But I also realized, okay, I don't actually want that for myself. I don't want to not be considerate to people and stuff. But the liberation of it freed me from shaming the other people that were doing it. To be honest with you. That's a possibilities mirror. So again, self-reflect on possibilities mirrors. My workbook has a bunch of questions. So I guess I'll share a couple little questions that I came up with for people. So in what ways do I deny myself the possibility of being more like those I envy? I mean, especially as a spiritual people, we all have the possibilities mirror of like the millionaire and the billionaire, right? But if we're shaming it, like what you negate, you cannot have for yourself. But if you acknowledge that there's a dissonance there or that you're negating it, then you bring awareness to it and then you can transform it. And now you can say hello to your $1,000,000 self. Because a lot of times we're looking at mirrors or shadows as these bad things. But on the other side of that is the light that we run from when we run from also our shadows. If I'm running from the Taisha who's uncomfortable being broke, then I'm also running from the millionaire Melinda, which is the possibility. So, um, is there something about a quality that disgusts me that I secretly may want for myself? Listen, people always shaming people when they free. I will say that. I mean, everybody wants to be free. Everybody wants to be themselves. So if somebody being themselves is really triggering for you, in what ways are you suppressing yourself or shaming yourself or not showing up as your full self? You know what I'm saying? So some balanced embodiments are I surrender to the expression of sensuality, right? If someone's sensuality, another woman, I'm like, oh my God, she's all, I can say, ooh, I surrender to the expression of sensuality. I am so happy now that I choose to embrace sensuality. I experience sensuality as a positive quality in myself. This is how we start to not shame other people for doing them or being themselves. Then you can say, I'm so grateful for Melissa for showing me that I suppress my sensuality. And then there's a bunch. There's like guys, the workbook is so good. It's so good. But bam, that's the possibilities mirror. Then we have our programming mirror, and this mirror is so deep, y'all, because this mirror is the things that happen from 0 to 14, whether it's our parents, our siblings, our teachers and authorities in our lives. If your mama always yelled at you, now you feeling like every girlfriend you ever had was yelling at you. Programming mirror says, I was taught this. I expect this. This is my belief about people. And when we have a belief about people, it is very hard for people to come up around what we've already believed. If I walk in a room and I'm like, yo, I don't trust nobody in here, everybody becomes a person I don't trust before they even enter you know what I mean? Like our auras are interacting like 8 feet and even more. Like we ain't even getting that. But our auras is interacting with each other. So before you even walked in the room, I had an expectation. And expectations are the killers of love. And so the programming mirror is one of the deepest subconscious ways in which we create. It is from this mirror we will recreate our childhoods and our experiences over and over and over because our programming are our expectations. A programming that I ran with for a long time, ran it through the mud, dragged every bit of everything through this, is that my parents didn't raise me. So I expected to be abandoned and neglected. My dad was a yeller. I expected men to not listen and be yellers. um, I would ask my mom for things that I needed, and I was unable to get them. And then I would watch my sister get what she needed because she would just keep going and going and going. So I expected not to get my needs met, and I expected to have to do everything for myself. So I created that for years to the point of homelessness, y'all. Like, programming mirrors are deep, man. Like, mirrors are deep in general because we're just recreating what we believe. Um, I've always seen women be the self sacrificial parent. I became a self-sacrificial parent. Like, I expected that from myself. I expected that from women in society. Because that's all I've known. That's all I've seen, right? If you're always told that men shouldn't cry. Anytime a man is showing emotion, now you're triggered. And the man isn't doing anything wrong, but you believe men shouldn't cry. So you're going to manifest men that cry to show you that you have a belief that needs to be changed, an expectation that can use love, because we're really here to transmute everything with love. We're here to transmute every experience with love. So what are your programming mirrors? And that's going to be deep. That's going to be every time you go through something, sitting down, and triggers are not always, oh, I'm about to get so angry. But what makes you want to curl up? What makes you want to cry? What even makes you super excited? Right? Like, and that's another level. That's another level. But we go into the dark emotions because why the light emotions accepted, but our emotive, more expressive emotions are not. And so diving into these mirrors will really help us see where a lot of our beliefs lie. And it's funny that I'm saying like lay down, but our beliefs lie. Our ego is lying. And so when we're venting and when we get to pull our triggers out, which is something that I show people in balanced embodiment, up level communication. We show you how to pull all the triggers out of your vents, because I believe, baby, the animal needs to express. So I'll let your animal go off. You can say all the things. You can say all the things, and so it's really time for us to dig into these things. Where is this coming from? What is this trying to show me? What is this trying to show me? Oh man, I actually went through something recently, and a wound is coming. It's coming up, and on the one end, I want to say what it's trying to show me is that this person is blah 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 blah. But what it's really trying to show me is that I still have some abandonment and neglect that I need to deal with. Straight like that, y'all. What are our past pattern mirrors? What are our programming mirrors? What are the mirrors that are so deeply subconscious that we have to download a new program? And how do we do that? So Hall of Mirrors shows so many different things that you can do as far as reprogramming the reality. So with the programming mirrors or the past patterns, I love to go into deep subconscious reprogramming. Yes, you can go into like meditative states, trance, different things like that. But I love using psyche and whole brain postures and movements in order to solidify the reality ASAP. Get the cells reprogrammed, get the DNA moving. And I, as of right now, have not experienced a better way than psyche. There are many, many ways, but I have not. So one thing that you can ask your programming mirror or your past pattern mirror is, what is the story behind the trigger? What is the story behind the trigger? So I guess I'll say the most recent one. Somebody told me to get the fuck out, blah, 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 blah. And I was like, man, I'll fucking leave. I'll shake. The story behind the trigger is that when I was younger, I had to get up and move like suddenly. My feelings didn't matter. Nothing mattered. And we just had to do it. And so when working with that trigger in that story, what would I have rather that look like? Okay, I'm a 1-3 in human design. I'd rather that had looked, I'm a Capricorn moon. I'd rather that had looked like, and I'm a Libra, so just, but I would rather that look like security and stability, our house not getting sold at a very young age, or, you know, me moving with my grandmother to my dad, to my mom. Like, and so when I go into deep subconscious reprogramming, if I'm doing like a trance, I would do the whole story over. Y'all, I'm giving y'all some game right now. I would do the whole story over. What would that story have looked like? Because the subconscious doesn't need to experience the physical reality. It needs to experience the sensation. So how can I recreate the experience to what I would have liked it to look like? And just the thought means that there's a ripple in the timeline where that Taisha exists, and I can call her to myself. I can call those more positive memories to myself so that I can rewrite and recode my DNA and merge all of myself into one whole being and anchor more and more of my light. But again, that's so bam. Or let's say you don't go into the deep subconscious reprogramming trans experience and you go into more of an instant deep reality reprogramming with something like Psyche or aha method or whole brain state stuff. Then we would say, what do I want instead now? Right? Because then we don't have to fully revisit what happened. I like to revisit that stuff because I like to get it all about. But a lot of times, these memories and stuff are sometimes even locked subconsciously. So that's why I use Psyche to speak to the subconscious and see, okay, this is from this, this is from this, bam. And then you can say, well, what do you want instead? So if I'm experiencing abandonment and neglect, what do I want instead? I cultivate relationships of depth and longevity, something like that. But that would be the balance embodiment statement. So how I have like a lot of balance embodiment statements for the other mirrors. With the programming mirrors, you want to really work in your current reality how you want it. Okay? I hope that makes sense. I hope that makes sense. But those are the three core mirrors. And so, how much time we got? We got 20 minutes. So I guess I'll go into, I'm not going to go into the mirrors of polarity because those are really, really in depth. Those have to do with universal law, masculine and feminine archetypes, and stuff like that. So I'm not going to go into that today, but I will go into some of these muse mirrors that I love. And the first muse mirror is the inanimate animation. And I love this mirror because y'all, this mirror is like that. Like, it is like, holy shit. So inanimate animation is when your physical domain is trying to show you something. So your cell phone, your car, your things around the house. So if you're a creative person, your car transmission may have issues. That could be mirroring like a lot of creative people. We be having a problem, or we be having like worship to do around ourselves about how to use this creative energy to turn into monetary energy. What is a car's transmission doing? It's converted energy in a car. So our car is mirroring us, right? Um, A car's inability to shift gears could be our inability to be flexible or move within different phases of our projects. You know, one that happens to me all the time is that when I'm like burnt out, tired, oh, my phone is absolutely dying for sure. And when I realized this, I was like, oh snap. So I started to intentionally start taking rest. Like, the phone is dying. That means that I'm definitely tuning out. So if your phone battery is consistently draining or draining faster than usual, maybe look at your working habits. Are you depleting yourself? All these things. And then you can ask yourself about these inanimate animations in your life. Why do I work myself until my 0% is going? Because I have a past patterns mirror of, excuse me, I have a past patterns mirror of, you got to work hard in order to make money. You got to work with your physical body. You got to da 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 da. So you run your car into the ground. You see, these are inanimate animations. You're late for the train. Now you're pissed. Where's your level of trust and surrender? Why do you believe in time so much? Time is an illusion. Everybody that missed the 9/11 flight is freaking, well, I mean, this is years ago, but alive and well today. You get what I'm saying? Like, everything is divinely happening. So, what are the inanimate animations in my life, and what are they trying to show me? You know? And so, some things we can ask around inanimate animations are there things around the house that are malfunctioning? How might these things mirror things that are actually happening in my life? Um, then you can ask them, do they belong to any of the core mirrors? Like, you can ask the inanimate animations, like, are you showing me possibilities? You know what I'm saying? Are you showing me parallel? Or are you showing me programming? You know what I mean? So you can ask the mirrors that. And that just, it really, you guys, I'm sharing with y'all from my workbook, so I'm not trying to give y'all all my goods and tuds, but I'm trying to give y'all like some goods and tuds, you know? So Gaia's Echo. I love Gaia's Echo because this mirror is a precious mirror and it shows us pet life, plant life, and planetary collective life and how that mirrors us. So I remember I went through a really bad breakup and my dog was not eating. And my daughter was like, oh my gosh, mom, Cupid's not eating, Cupid's not eating. And I was like, dang, Maya, I'm not eating. You know what I'm saying? Like, Cupid can only mirror my behavior. Like, and so when I started back eating, Cupid started back eating, and you know what I mean? Um, Plants. When oh man, I was a terrible gardener for like years, and I would just be like, oh, I don't have a green thumb, I don't have a green thumb, but it was really my own inability to nurture something at the time. You know, it was also my inability to see something like through consistently, right? Um, and now, you know, I'm like a proud plant mom. So Gaia's Echo shows us so much. And like everything, Earth is mirroring back to us too. So that's Gaia's Echo. And then so you think about what are some echoes from Gaia that are in your life? You know, this lady, uh, um, she had a tumor in her neck and she had like not gone and seen about it. But then her dog had a lump in her neck and she went and got the dog checked. You know, but it was happening in her body too. And so finally, when she went and addressed it herself, she was able to, you know, make sure the dog was good as well. And so, how is Gaia echoing back to you? Another echo from Gaia that I love, to be honest, was COVID. It was our need to go within. It was our need to go inside. It was our urge from Gaia, you know, to shift, to change. And so things are always mirroring, y'all. Like, things are always mirroring. So some Gaia's echo questions you can ask are, how are my pets' behavior currently mirroring my own, whether it be emotional, physical, state? Um, have I noticed significant environmental things or political things that could be mirroring my own state? Like, man, yo, like back in the day, like I'm saying back in the day, it was a long time, but when Trump had like first came out, I was like, wow, this is a mirror of the United States. We're all having a who's is bigger contest. You know what I'm saying? So Gaia is echoing. Gaia is echoing. Our lives are echoing. Our beliefs are echoing back to us. And just showing up so that we can have some awareness and we can make some changes. So the last and final mirror I was sharing, it's like right on time, got 15 minutes, is the echoes from the body. Now, echoes from the body, y'all, we gotta listen to the body. Like, we gotta listen to the body. The body knows the way. The body is the way. Like, every part of the body has a meaning. Left, right, up, down, feet, knees, toes, hips, chest, lungs, grief, people with asthma, grief, people with cysts, repressed anger. Um, I even worked with a client, and what we found out from the body was herpes is a manifestation of lack of feminine receptivity. And I was like, whoa, think of how many women, like I'm a black woman, y'all, from America. And so think about how many of us are like hyper independent, lack of receptivity. My grandfathers, they both have prostate cancer right now. And so I was on my message, on my Gaia's Echo, on my messages from the body. What are the echoes from the body for prostate? It's castration by the mother, which turns into castration by the self over years and years and years. And I'm like, damn, how many men deal with this? And I'm seeing a rise in prostate cancer. How many men are, because this also came up for prostate cancer, how many men are taking on the rhetoric so much of the patriarchy that they put everything on their backs, and then when it doesn't pan out like the way society said, then then there's like shame and guilt, and now there's dis-ease in the body, echoes from the body, you know and our echoes from the body are so vast and so different. And so the way I deal with remedies for echoes from the body is, I'm not gonna lie, I do all psyche work. I actually saw something recently that may interest everybody, which is the AO scan. And that may be interesting because it has frequencies and fractals, even for like plants and herbs, as far as what you can use for yourself. So hold on, you guys. So with me, with echoes from the body, I use psyche. I communicate directly to my body. I have conscious awareness of this, and I move forward, and I pull the messages. I can't like show that on here because licensing, baby. But echoes from the body is real cool because there will be general messages that you can absolutely pull. Like, things that I said are very general, but something may be very indicative to you. So I know someone who was having some knee issues, and when we looked at it, it was like he wasn't open to criticism. I mean, he still tried to say he was open to criticism, but the body doesn't lie. The body knows the way. So that's the mirrors, you guys. That is the mirrors. I'm so happy to have presented that to y'all. And I wish I could have gone even deeper, but I was like, let me try to just get it in. Let me get it in a nice amount of time to kind of get y'all a good roundabout of the mirrors. Now, since I didn't go over the polarity mirrors, I will explain like one, for instance. So, uh, so the warrior and the guardian. The warrior is that soldier energy. It's that get up and do it. It's that masculine drive energy. But its complement, its polarity is the guardian. Is the crone, is the conservation, is the more energy of the feminine that is in stillness. And so they attract each other in order to cultivate and fortify that which is in them. So what I like to say a lot is that, like, in my 30s right now, I can date someone who is like in their 50s and they're in their mentor energy and I'm in my disciple energy with that person, right? But equally so, I can date someone who, is 25 and just graduated from college and is in their warrior energy while I am more a guardian for that person. And so when we get around people, we get to see the different mirrors that are cultivated by being around that person who more naturally has the other energy. So thank you so much, everybody, for coming today to my talk. And I will see you guys in 2 weeks.